This video covers everything you need to print high-quality cards at home with perfect double-sided alignment. I've used the methods I'll share with you to make hundreds of print-and-play cards at home, and you can use them to make cards for your own trading card games, or proxy or alternative art cards for games like Magic the Gathering, Flesh and Blood, Altered, Netrunner, Pokémon, One Piece, or more. We'll cover the full story from images and design to alignment, printing, and finishing and storing your cards. You can use the chapters to jump sections, and you can find a link to all of the resources I use to make cards in the video description. First up, we'll need images for our cards. In this video, we'll focus on standard or poker-sized cards, which are what's used most often in trading card games and sports cards. But many of the methods we'll discuss are useful for other card sizes too. The card dimensions for standard size cards are 2.5 inches or 6.35 centimeters wide, and 3.5 inches or 8.89 centimeters high. As this is the most common card size, there are lots of third-party products like card sleeves, deck boxes, and card binders available for it. If you're making your own game, I highly recommend you use this size, and it's the size used by most trading card games, with Yu-Gi-Oh! Being a notable exception. So how do you get images for your print-at-home cards? You can either design your own images or use existing images. I'm no artist, so I commissioned or bought a license for most of the images shown in this video from Lost Haven Art, link in the description. You can use card customizer apps to design cards for trading card games or other purposes by uploading your own images. Some examples include Card Conjurer, Magic Set Editor, and Forge of Cards. These usually let you export images as a PNG or other common image type, and they may let you export cards already laid out on paper of your chosen size, but using those exports may make double-sided printing alignment tricky. I made a product that lets you design custom cards for TTRPGs using any image and align them to print perfectly double-sided. You can find a link in the video description. You can use image editing software to customize card images digitally. I use Adobe Illustrator because I have a subscription. But if you don't, I highly recommend that you pick up Affinity because it's now completely free and it has some great features. Whichever software you use, make sure you use artboards with the right dimensions and export your images with a good resolution. If you're using existing images, make sure they have a 2.5 to 3.5 aspect ratio. If they don't, you can crop an image to that ratio using image editing software. Again, if you don't already use image editing software, I recommend that you download Affinity and crop your images that way, and this video shows you how. You can use the alignment and printing methods we'll discuss later to print cards with any digital image. So long as you have access to an image, you can print cards with it. If you're wanting to print cards with copyrighted images, you should ask permission from the copyright holder first. Here are some images from my website. I'm the copyright holder, and Lost Haven Art drew them. You're free to use them however you like. You can download digital versions of images from a website. First, right-click and select Open Image in New tab to make sure you have the high-resolution version of the image. Then right-click again, select Save Image As, and save the image to your file system. Some websites store images in compressed formats like WebP or AVIF, and you might not be able to import images in those formats directly into applications you use to align and print cards. You can convert images in a compressed format into compatible formats like PNG, JPEG, or PDF by importing them into applications like Illustrator, Affinity, or Canva and re-exporting them. Sadly, Affinity doesn't read AVIF files, but Canva does, and you'll need a free Canva account to use Affinity anyway. Now you have your images, how do you align print and play cards so they look great on both sides? Don't know about you, but I way prefer having card backs that match the way I'm using my cards, rather than using expensive block color or themed card sleeves. The thing is, if you just print a standard card size image on one side of a piece of paper, flip it around, and print a card back image in the same position on the page, then cut the card out, you probably get something like this with ugly white lines. We don't want that. There are a few approaches to double-sided printing alignment for cards. I'm going to call these the good, the bad, and the ugly. I admit to my bias in my pursuit for perfection here, And if you love a method that I'm describing as bad or ugly, that's great, you do you. As well as describing each method, I'll describe the pros and cons so you can make up your own mind which is best for you. Let's look at the ugly first. With this method, called the gutterfold method, you print both card front and back images on the same side of a piece of cardstock. Then fold the cards in the middle and glue them together. There's also a variant where you print front and back images on separate pages and glue them together. These methods make preparing files to print easy, as you don't need to manipulate image positions across multiple pages. They make alignment skill-based, so if you're great with your hands, your cards will be great, and if you're not, well, they won't. I've spent a lot of time doing cross-stitch, so I'd say I'm good with my hands, but even so, terrible with this method. On the pure negative side, it's a fiddly process that takes a while for every card. It may leave cards weak with edges and corners that are likely to fray, and the glue is an extra expense for every card. What I call the bad method is probably the method that's used most often for formatting print and play cards. Here, you just make card back images a fair bit bigger than card front images, so card backs look passable, even if they aren't aligned. This is called adding bleed. This method is faster than the ugly method, and it gives you better quality cards because you aren't sticking two card halves together. On the flip side, it ignores alignment completely, and the effect of that is that it limits design choices for card back images, which I'm not a fan of. Here's one of my card backs printed using this method, not for me. This method also uses a lot more ink than needed to make sure that there are no white lines. I've seen 2 inches of bleed recommended on every side of the card, and if my math is right, that means 1.25 square inches of extra ink on every card. If you're using an ink tank printer, which is really economical, that might be okay, but if you're using a cartridge printer, the cost might quickly add up. Now for the good method, which is, as you may expect, the one I use myself. With this method, you work out your printer's double-sided alignment, and then you correct for it. This has the best of both worlds. It's quick after some initial setup, it lets you align card front and back more or less perfectly, and it doesn't use much extra ink. So how does it work? You prepare and print a test page to figure out how far your printer is misaligned for front-back printing, and then offset your card images to account for the difference before you print them. Since your printer's alignment doesn't change between prints, you only need to do the first step once per printer you use. And if you have templates prepared, you can reuse them whenever you print cards. You can prepare files to use this method in Word or some other application with a bit of math. But this channel is all about making things easy, so I cut out the hassle by making a toolkit you can use to get perfect prints every time, as well as a detailed guide on the whole process. This includes alignment files and templates for both A4 and letter printing, making it really quick to prepare your cards for print. You can upload up to 104 images in a singles card front template, or automatically duplicate, triplicate, quadruplicate, or octuplicate an uploaded image. Perfect for printing staple cards or printing in bulk. For card backs, you can just upload an image once and print between 1 and 8 cards per page to save ink. Or if you want, you can upload different card back images to the same page. All you need is your template, your card images, printing supplies, which we'll discuss soon, and the free Adobe Acrobat Reader software or another application that lets you fill PDF form fields. The template's available for the price of a couple of coffees, and you can get a 10% discount using code YouTube10. As an example for this video, I'm going to print cards for my D&D character Dzunun and his wild shape forms. For the rest of the video, I'll focus on the good method, but much of the guidance is applicable whichever method you use to align your cards to print. I prepare my files using the print and play card template. I upload my 3 card front images to the card front singles template. I worked out that my printing alignment for cards is +1mm about a year ago, so I don't need to do it again. For my card backs, I use the duplicates template for +1mm and upload my card back image. This automatically copies the image so I can print between 1 and 8 cards per page. I'll be printing 3 because I have 3 card front images. Note that the card back images are rotated 180 degrees. If you're going to prepare files to print card fronts and backs on opposite sides of a sheet of paper. Make sure you do this so the images are the right way up after you flip your paper. The print and play card template automatically rotates the card back images for you. Now your files are ready, how do you print cards at home? You'll need your files ready to print, a color printer with ink, and thick paper or cardstock. I use a Canon Maxify GX6020, which is an ink tank printer. If you'll be printing a lot, ink tank printers are really economical. Ink costs like 10 or more times less per page than for cartridge printers. I use 250 GSM A4 cardstock. The letter paper equivalent is around 90 to 100 pound cover paper. This is nice and thick, which makes cards feel great, especially after laminating or sleeving them. You can find links to the products I use or recommend in the video description. I'll cover exactly how to print your cards in a second, but first a couple of high-level tips. If you're printing your cards on two sides of a piece of paper, always use manual duplex printing with your printer's rear tray if it has one. Automatic duplex printing would add an extra variable to printing alignment, and most home printers can't print cardstock through automatic duplex printing anyway. Also, make sure that you print with roughly the same number of sheets of paper loaded into your printer each time. Again, this removes another variable that could affect your prints. I usually print with just a single sheet of paper at once, but if I'm printing in bulk, then I might print 4 to 6 sheets at once. Not more than that though. Okay, so that said, here's the method I use to print my cards at home. Begin by printing your card fronts. I've already got my file with 3 card fronts prepared using the print and play card template. Open the print dialog and configure your printer to print just the card front page. Configure settings for your printer to optimize printing on cardstock. Set your paper type to cardstock, your paper source to your printer's rear tray, your print quality to high, and your paper size to actual size. This is so your images come out looking as good as they can for your printer, and they're the right size. Different printers have different settings, so this is general guidance. Consult your printer's user documentation if unsure. Align your cardstock tightly within the page guides in your printer's rear tray, then print the page. Flip your paper on its long edge and reinsert it into your printer's rear tray, aligning it tightly within the page guides. Now to print the card back page. I use the card back file I prepared using the print and play card template, and make sure to print the 3 card backs page to save ink. Open the print dialog and print just that page using the same print settings as before. If you have a bunch of cards to print, you can either print front then back for each page, or print all fronts and then all backs. If you're going to use different backs for your cards, then I recommend you print pages one at a time so you don't make a mistake and waste ink. If colors don't come out as you expected when you print, then you can change your printer's color settings. If you do, note down what you changed them to so you can keep your cards consistent. My printer prints a little dark by default, so I increase the brightness and contrast a little just when printing card backs. The print and play card template includes a guide document that covers how to print your cards at home and a troubleshooting guide in case you have any issues while printing. With your cards printed, you're almost done. You can just cut out your cards and leave it at that, but if you're anything like me, you want to make really high quality cards, so I'll share the methods I use to make cards that look and feel great. I laminate most of my cards. For cards that I expect to be handled a lot, I use card sleeves, and for some cards, I cut the corners. For extra special cards, I also add a shiny finish using Hololaminate. I'll cover the tools needed for each method and then show you my process. Laminating your cards is a great way to give them a firm, smooth finish, protect them, and make it easy to shuffle them. I use an Amazon Basics 3-in-1 laminator. This is a great piece of kit. As well as being a laminator, it includes a paper trimmer and hole punch, and it comes with a corner cutter too. I use matte laminating pouches. These give a great quality finish. I've tried a couple of brands and I'm currently using Deskit A4 matte laminating pouches. For laminating for letter paper, Scotch matte pouches have great reviews, but I haven't tested them personally. Using card sleeves can be an easy way to give printed cards a smooth finish so they're easy to shuffle. and it's a great way to add some protection to cards, even if they're laminated. This can be a great option if cards may get damaged at the table. For example, if food or drink spills are likely. Make sure you use sleeves designed for standard size cards. My sleeves of choice are Voltex Exact Fit card sleeves. You can get soft sleeves too, which are a looser fit, making it easier to sleeve your cards. Many card aficionados double sleeve their cards, placing them in an inner exact fit sleeve and then an outer, looser fit sleeve. You can round the corners of your cards if you want to using a corner cutter. This is entirely dependent on taste. I typically round the corners on cards I expect to be handled and leave cards that are just for display with straight edges. I have a few different corner cutters. I find this one to be the most reliable. I've added a link in the description. You can store and display your cards in deck boxes and card binders. Both make it easy to bring your cards to games so you don't lose them. I recommend using a deck box to store cards that you expect to use as a pre-made deck, for example oracles, and a card binder to store any other cards. My favorite deck box is the Voltex Exotech deck box. It looks great, comes in a range of colors, has a magnetic lid, and is water resistant. I'd use commercial deck boxes like this to store TCG card decks I'm proud of, but it would be a bit overkill for my TTRPG cards. For these, I make custom deck boxes out of paper, and this is another template I've made available. The templates come in a range of sizes and colors, and you can print them as is, or change the front and back images. These are cheap and easy to make, and the small version is great for storing side decks. And cool design decision, both sizes fit inside the Exotech deck box. Card binders are great for displaying your cards. You can get binders in 4, 9 and 12 pockets per page sizes in a range of styles. I use 4 and 9 pocket binders for my TTRPG games. The smaller binder for cards and accessories I bring to a game, and the larger one as a campaign log. Now for the process I use to make high quality cards at home. First, laminate the cards using matte laminating pouches. You can do this after you cut your cards, but it's easier to do it before, and this makes it less likely that you'll make errors while laminating. Turn your laminator on the highest heat setting. Make sure you wait until the ready light is on before you use the laminator. Place your printed sheet of cards inside a laminating pouch. Then make sure that there's no debris inside or outside the laminate sheet on both sides. When your laminator is ready, pass your laminating pouch through the laminator with the fixed end first. I like to prop up the pouch on both input and output ends using a card binder or thick book to make sure that the pouch doesn't bend. I prefer to pass cards through the laminator 2 or 3 times to make sure the laminate binds very tightly to the paper. Make sure to wait for the ready light each time. At this stage, if you really want to make your cards special, you can add holographic adhesive laminate to the front of your cards. You could add it to both sides or use holographic laminating pouches. But holo laminate is expensive, and I prefer to keep card backs looking the same in case you need to shuffle them. I've added links to some holo laminate products in the video description and pinned comment. To add holo laminate to your cards, separate the laminate from the protective paper and carefully stick it to your cards. Take your time with this and be careful with it so you minimize air bubbles. You probably want to make sure you're doing this with 8 cards at a time because the laminate is pretty expensive. Here I'm doing it with a set of colored initiative cards. Now comes cutting. Cut your cards out with the front of the cards facing you. I tend to just use scissors to cut my cards, but if you're confident using a paper trimmer, you can use one. If you want to cut the corners on your cards, you can. I typically do this for laminated cards that I expect to be handled without being sleeved. I typically cut the corners on cards using the smallest cut setting, 4mm, on my corner cutter. When using a corner cutter, make sure your cards are firmly in the corner cutter before you cut them. It's best to try out the different settings on some scrap paper to choose your favorite before you cut your cards. With your cards fully cut out, you can now sleeve them if you want to. I prefer using exact fit card sleeves, but you may prefer using looser fit ones. If you want to double sleeve your cards for extra protection, first sleeve them in an exact fit sleeve, and then in a loose fit sleeve. To store your cards, consider using a deck box or card binder. I recommend using a deck box to store any sets of cards you expect to use as a pre-made deck, and a card binder to store any other cards. With this video and the links in the description, I hope you have everything you need to make high quality cards at home. If you want to know more about how the alignment method works, you can check out this video. And to learn more about the custom deck boxes, check out this one.